Hey, everyone! You might think school taught you everything, but I'm here to tell you that's far from the truth. Sure, we learned about photosynthesis, quadratic equations, and the Declaration of Independence, but what about the bizarre, mind-blowing facts they didn't cover? Today, I'm counting down 25 strange, eyebrow-raising, and downright fascinating facts you definitely didn't learn in school. So buckle up, because you're in for a wild ride. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more videos like this. Ready? Let's go! 25. Molten gold was poured down a Roman billionaire's throat. Yes, you heard that right. Forget a peaceful retirement or a legacy of philanthropy. One Roman billionaire got a much more metal send-off. Marcus Licinius Crassus, one of the wealthiest men in history with an estimated fortune of $20 billion in today's money, had molten gold poured down his throat after losing a battle. Now, I know what you're thinking, ouch, right? This wasn't just a painful death, it was symbolic. His enemies wanted to make sure he choked on his greed, quite literally. So next time you're upset about taxes, remember, it could be worse. 24. The Aztecs used a base 20 number system. We all know the decimal system, right? Base 10. Easy peasy. But the Aztecs were like, nah, let's make it more interesting. They developed a unique base 20 number system, and they used dots, bars, and symbols to represent numbers. I guess the Aztecs were doing algebra while we were still trying to figure out how to split a bill at a restaurant. But why base 20? Because they counted their fingers and toes. Talk about thinking on your feet. 23. World War I took down 4 empires. When we think about World War I, we often think of trenches, gas masks, and that iconic over-the-top scene. But what school didn't tell you is that the war brought down not 1, not 2, but 4 empires. The German, Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, and Russian empires all collapsed by the end of the war. That's a lot of royal crowns hitting the floor. It's like the ultimate Game of Thrones season finale, but without the dragons. 22. Early tanks had genders. Wait, tanks had genders? Yup. During World War I, the British developed the first ever military tanks, and they came in male and female versions. Male tanks had big OL cannons, while female tanks were armed with machine guns. You could say the male tanks were overcompensating just a bit. But in all seriousness, these early tanks were clunky and unreliable, yet they laid the foundation for modern armored vehicles. 21. American schools banned the German language after World War I. During and after World War I, anti-German sentiment was so high in the US that several states, including Indiana, banned the teaching of German in schools. That's right, you couldn't speak it, learn it, or even teach it. German immigrants who had been living peacefully in America for years suddenly found themselves treated with suspicion. Imagine banning a whole language. Guten Tag? More like Guten Bye. 20. Smiling in photos was a no-go until the mid-20th century. If you've ever looked at old-timey photos and wondered why nobody's smiling, you're not alone. Turns out, smiling in photographs used to be considered improper or even a sign of mental illness. People took their photos very seriously back then. Literally. It wasn't until the mid-20th century that people began cracking a smile for the camera. Can you imagine telling your great-great-grandparents about selfies today? They'd think we'd all gone mad. 19. John Adams wanted July 2nd to be Independence Day. Every year, we celebrate Independence Day on July 4th, but if John Adams had his way, it would have been July 2nd. That's when the Continental Congress actually voted to declare independence. But the paperwork wasn't signed until the 4th, so here we are. Adams was so adamant about the date that he refused to celebrate on the 4th. Talk about sticking to your principles. 18. Only one U.S. president was born on the 4th of July. And speaking of Independence Day, did you know only one U.S. president was actually born on July 4th? Calvin Coolidge, the 30th president, was born on the 4th of July in 1872. Talk about patriotic. He was known as Silent Cal because he didn't say much, but his birth date alone says all you need to know about his destiny. 17. A pop song contained a secret message to hostages. In 2010, Colombian military forces used a pop song to send a secret message to hostages held by guerrilla fighters. The song contained a hidden Morse code message in the chorus that said, 19 people rescued. You're next. Don't lose hope. And guess what? The hostages heard the song on the radio and realized their rescue was coming. Music really does bring people together, huh? 16. One World War II pilot flew with no legs. Douglas Bader wasn't your average pilot. This World War II flying ace lost both of his legs in a crash, but that didn't stop him. He got fitted with prosthetic legs and continued flying, eventually becoming one of Britain's top fighter pilots. Bader shot down 22 enemy planes, proving that the only thing more impressive than his skills was his willpower. Forget Top Gun, this guy was the real deal. 15. People in North Korea don't call the citizens of North Korea don't refer to themselves that way at all. They call their country the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, DPRK, and identify simply as Koreans. In fact, they consider their southern neighbors to be part of the same nation, just under temporary occupation. So technically, in their minds, there's only one Korea. Who knew geography could be so subjective? 14. Cleopatra lived closer to the moon landing than to the pyramids. This is one of those facts that really messes with your sense of time. Cleopatra, the last active ruler of the Ptolemaic Kingdom of Egypt, lived closer to the moon landing in 1969 than to the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza. While the pyramid was built around 2560 BCE, Cleopatra lived just a few decades before the birth of Christ. Time flies, or in this case, moonwalks. 13. Russia ran out of vodka celebrating the end of World War II. When World War II ended in 1945, celebrations erupted worldwide. But in Russia, they partied so hard that they ran out of vodka. Yes, the entire country depleted its vodka supply within 24 hours of the victory announcement. I can only imagine the hangover that followed. Talk about last call. 12. Scotland's national animal is the unicorn. You might think Scotland would choose something fierce or noble for their national animal, like a lion or an eagle. But nope, they went with a unicorn. It's an official symbol dating back to the 12th century, representing purity, power, and chivalry. And here you thought unicorns were just for kids' birthday parties. 11. The Eiffel Tower can grow more than 6 inches in summer. The Eiffel Tower is taller than you might think, and it gets even taller in the summer. Due to thermal expansion, the iron in the tower expands when heated, causing it to grow by up to 6 inches. It's like the world's biggest mood ring, except it only grows when it's hot. Imagine if humans grew like that in the summer. Beach season would be a whole new level of awkward. 10. A single page of the 2010 U.S. tax code is longer than the entire U.S. Constitution. Ever wondered why doing your taxes feels like such a monumental task? Well, here's why. A single page of the 2010 U.S. tax code is longer than the entire U.S. Constitution. The Constitution is around 4,400 words, but the tax code? It's a mind-numbing 3.8 million words. Maybe we should start teaching that in school instead of memorizing state capitals. 9. Armadillos are bulletproof. Believe it or not, armadillos have a natural suit of armor. Their hard, bony shells are so tough that bullets can ricochet off them. In fact, there's a story about a man in Texas who shot at an armadillo, only to have the bullet bounce off the animal's shell and hit him instead. Moral of the story, don't mess with armadillos, or maybe just don't shoot at anything. 8. Napoleon wasn't actually short. You've probably heard people describe Napoleon Bonaparte as a little guy with a big ego, right? Well, turns out, that's a myth. Napoleon was actually about 5 feet 6 inches or 5 feet 7 inches, which was average height for his time. The rumor about his short stature likely came from a mix-up in French and British measurements. Looks like the Napoleon complex has been unfairly attributed. 7. The world's quietest room can drive you crazy. There's a room in Minnesota, called an anechoic chamber, that's so quiet you can hear your own blood flowing and bones creaking. It absorbs 99.9% of all sound, and the longest anyone has ever managed to stay inside is just 45 minutes. People say that the silence is so overwhelming that it causes hallucinations and a sense of disorientation. So, if you're ever tempted to say, "I just need some peace and quiet," be careful what you wish for. 6. People used to sleep in 2 shifts. Before the invention of electric lighting, people used to sleep in 2 chunks or shifts. They'd go to bed early, wake up for a few hours in the middle of the night to relax or even visit neighbors, and then go back to sleep until morning. Historians call this biphasic sleep, and it's actually more natural for our bodies. So if you've ever had a random middle-of-the-night wake-up, maybe you're just in touch with your ancestral roots. 5. Penguins propose with pebbles. No, this isn't a Pixar movie. Penguins actually propose to their mates by offering them a pebble. If the female penguin accepts, they become a pair and build their nest with it. It's the cutest and coldest wedding tradition you'll ever hear about. So if you ever find yourself at the beach, maybe bring back a pebble or two. You never know when a penguin might pop the question. 4. The world's oldest known "your mom" joke is 3,500 years old. Turns out, joking about someone's mom is an ancient tradition. The oldest known "yo mama" joke was found on a Babylonian tablet dating back to 1500 BCE. The exact wording is unclear, but scholars are confident it's some sort of ancient burn. Even back then, it seems, people couldn't resist a good mom joke. 3. King Tut's dagger was made from a meteorite. King Tutankhamun's tomb is famous for its treasures, but one of the most extraordinary artifacts was a dagger made from iron that came from a meteorite. That's right, the ancient Egyptians were crafting tools out of space rocks. It's like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, only it happened thousands of years ago. I guess even pharaohs knew how to rock that cosmic style. 2. Pigeons can do math. You may not think of pigeons as the most intelligent creatures, but they're actually pretty sharp. In scientific studies, pigeons have been shown to be capable of understanding numerical concepts like greater than and less than. That's right, pigeons can do math, which, let's be honest, puts some of us to shame. So the next time you see a pigeon pecking around for food, just remember, it might be calculating its odds. 1. Sharks predate trees. Our final fact is one that might just blow your mind. Sharks are older than trees. Yes, those terrifying predators have been around for about 400 million years, while trees only appeared around 350 million years ago. Next time you go for a swim, just remember, you're sharing the water with creatures older than some of the most ancient forests on Earth. Sweet dreams!